Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. This is an update video on the 1961 Airstream renovations. In past videos, you've seen me build some drawers. I'm going to show you what they look like inside of the Airstream today. And then I have some new materials that arrived. One of them is a kitchen countertop laminate. It's a silver, brushed silver look. And I'm going to use this, I'm going to adhere it to the side of the wardrobe cabinet, the side that faces inside the shower. It had a vinyl sticker as its waterproof material back in the day, but that's not going to do it anymore. So I'm going to put that laminate over and route out the edges. On the front of the wardrobe and pantry cabinet, I'm going to put this oak wood veneer. Like I did on the kitchen cabinet to refresh that. And then on the inside of the cabinet, and again I'm trying to use as many as original materials as possible, so I'm trying to salvage it. It's a little stained. I'm going to use this vinyl adhering like a wallpaper and dress up the inside of the cabinet. We'll see how all this works. I want to show you inside the trailer now that I have the drawers mocked up. This is one of the drawer boxes I made, and this is a spoiler alert because this is the color of the stain I'm going to be using throughout the Airstream. And the floor is going to be a gray wood plank style, like a charcoal color, so there's going to be a little bit of contrast there, and it's going to be a vinyl sheet floor throughout. It's also going to have the dark walnut cabinets. I think altogether the color of the cabinets are going to be the same as the drawer fronts. You're going to have a dark walnut countertop, white sink, white cooktop, and I have a white face front NovaCool refrigerator getting put in, and the shower base is white. So you can see now, you can understand the color scheme I'm going with, as well as the cushion color. So the drawer project went very well, and altogether, if I was to order these drawers on manufacturer websites that offer drawer box building, the whole set of drawers, and there would have been a dovetail construction, similar plywood, would have been about $330. And then that's not counting the faces and the hardware. It took me about 13 hours and about $120 in material, so it would have definitely been worth it to buy it from one of the online drawer manufacturers. They have very low starting prices, but by the time you put your dimensions in and what your materials you want to use, the price does climb up, but still it's a great value. On the drawer boxes, I used a water-based polyurethane spray, and that was a lifesaver. Even though it's a little bit more cost prohibitive and more expensive using spray cans, it's a lot easier to apply. So what I did was I sprayed each piece individually, front, back, side, bottom, and then I assembled the drawer boxes and then gave it one more coat. And I started off with a satin finish, 2 coats, and then I went to a gloss finish. On the front of the drawer, I went 1 coat stain and 3 coats water-based polyurethane spray. Rust-Oleum makes it under a different brand name. I did that in a satin. I believe overall I'm very satisfied with it. This is an oak plywood I used for the front, and I routed the edge, and then I sanded everything. So there's a lot of detail, a lot of time in each one of the drawer boxes. On the bottom, the track I restored and cleaned up is nailed and glued to the bottom Luan board of the drawer. And then this piece slips into a dado, and then I just added this extra cleat glued in place, nailed on the side for extra support. That slides in and out on this track, and the track sits just slightly proud of this frame here. When Airstream built this trailer, this track laid on a piece of plywood about 1/4 inch, but since I made the frames thicker, I had to elevate them using 1x material and then a thin piece of Luan to get the height that I needed. And then I drilled a hole and I countersunk it and I screwed it into the floor. Now again, this is not the permanent installation. This is just for mock-up stages, just so I could see how the drawers work. And I tried to keep it all original. So the drawers, you know, slide on this groove here, and then this groove slides in that receptacle. And they don't slide that easily, but again, keeping it original, this is how it goes in. It's nice and tight, and it shouldn't slide out when you're driving. I'm debating whether for the front piece here to do walnut just like the countertop, or if I'm going to do oak, or if I'm going to do pine and then wrap it in the same ultra leather material here. In the kitchen, I have a reproduction chrome knob here for the cutting board. That's the original cutting board. I just sanded it and cleaned it. This is a solid wood front. I cut, routed, sanded, and stained. These are the drawer boxes. This is the one that you would have seen me build. One of the drawer boxes is for silverware. You can see how I fastens the back. It's all pocket hole screws. Lots of glue, and then it slides in the same track system. These bottom drawers operate the same way, except what I need, and Airstream didn't have this back then, is some type of stop to prevent it from tilting down that far. So on the bottom track of this one, I'm going to add a block to bring it down. So when this goes out, it'll rub up against that. And then where I applied the wood veneer to the front face here and routed it out, I got to sand it so the drawer doesn't drag on it and make that noise. I don't want it to chip out. See how it tilts out like that? That's exactly how they did it in the original way, but I'm going to improve on that. Alright, so today's project is going to be removing this wardrobe so I could bring it outside so I could freshen it up. You can see the original furnace is a propane furnace. There's no blower motor or anything. Radiant heat comes through. That has to go. For one, these are not safe, and for two, I do have the Truma that you've seen me install previously that will take care of my heat and my domestic hot water. This is the wall that has a vinyl sticker on it to keep it watertight, but it's been compromised. It's got some splits in it, some holes drilled into it, and that's not going to cut it anymore to keep this compartment waterproof when you're showering, because this is a wet bath. That's the bath shower pan that I had recoated and sanded. It used to be a pink and all cracked. That came out really nice. And then this wall here is also going to be the laminate. If I have enough material, I would love to do both of them, route them nice and smooth, so when you're in the shower and all the seams are nice and caulked, you don't have to worry about water penetrating this. This cabinet door I was going to try to salvage, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to sand it and get it clean. But I do want to keep this lifetime warranty sticker and this board. So somehow, somewhere, I'm going to incorporate this into the trailer again. But instead of using that door, I'm going to put a new door on. And I'd like to keep this original quarter turn European style latch. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the furnace apart. I got to cut a gas line. There is no propane in this trailer and the gas line's shut off. I got to remove this. I'm not going to use this over again, but I will scrap it. And then I got to take this whole entire cabinet module out so I can work on it outside. So for starts, I gotta remove this door. It's got regular cabinet hinges on with flathead screws. I try to keep all the screws just in case I ever need them. A trick when removing a cabinet, you don't want to remove all the screws all the way. You want to keep a couple in place so then when you go to remove it, it's not going to flop down on you. So I'm going to remove the middle one completely, but I'm going to keep one screw in the top. Hopefully that will hold, and then the door won't fly off on me. These doors are quite heavy. They're solid oak. Airstream back in the day was really trying to keep down on the weight, so they used the thinnest and lightest materials because these were meant to be towed by cars. But there are some areas that are extremely heavy, and that one of them is these doors. Okay. So now I got this door off. Save these screws here. Alright, so in the wardrobe there's some pantry shelves, and I did a little discovery. It's always good to do some discovery before you jump into a project. And I noticed that there is a cleat in the back that keeps the shelf from sagging, but the shelves themselves are not nailed or screwed into them. There is a removable panel that I'm going to redo here that gets you access to the furnace for service, but you can see how stained up the materials are from things spilling in the cabinet. This I'm not going to freshen up, I'm just going to recreate this. It's an easy one to do. Alright, the furnace cover has to come off, and there's a flathead screw on the top. And then the vent grate comes off. The furnace itself is screwed into this wood pantry shelf. There's 4 flathead screws. And it was 1961. They had the flathead screws at their resource back then. And then I'm going to grab the camera and come up close so you can see what happens on the bottom here, but there's a gas line that comes up through. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it real quick, and then we'll be able to see how this removes. Okay, now that it's cut, I can remove the rest of these face frame screws. These are about 1.25 inches long. Okay. And the furnace itself has an exhaust and an intake in one tube. And you can see how these could be a little dangerous over time because it's just galvanized steel. It could rust out. You get carbon monoxide inside the trailer. But you know, with the gas line cut on the bottom and all the face frame screws removed, this should just be free to slide out, and the only tension left on it should be from the exhaust that sticks out. But this is where the heat would come out the top, and then this is where I believe you would light it back in the day. And this is a gas valve. I've never used one of these before. That must purge the line. So I didn't even test it to see if it worked. I just don't trust that it's safe. So I'm going to have to get rid of it, and I have the Truma anyway, which is going to be way more efficient than this. And now that the furnace is out, you could see the exhaust tube and the intake tube. So I'm going to separate the two. So you can see the inner workings of an old vintage RV furnace. And there is the outside. So aesthetically, on the outside of the trailer, I'm going to leave the little vent that's there, and I'm just going to cover it from the inside because I like the way it looks on the outside, and I don't want to do a patch. Now you can see the inside of the compartment, the other half of the wheel well. This is the original interior paint color. This is someone's attempt to freshen it up. And then the cabinet itself is held in with some flathead screws here across the front and 1 or 2 on the side. And then you see the gap here on the bottom. The wall itself slides into this track that goes all the way up to the ceiling. And then this header here rivets into a plate that's screwed into the face frame. So I can see the rivet head's already off. So sometimes rivets fatigue over time. I can see that head's off. So instead of taking this whole header apart, I think what I'm going to try to do is tilt it up from the bottom and pull it out from the bottom and let the top slip down, and then I can remove it and bring it outside. For these, I'm going to use some power tools just to make it a little bit quicker and easier. It looks like this piece is separate for installation maybe purposes than the sides. That one just spins in place. You can see how deteriorated it is over time. So when I do the veneer on the front here, I'm going to sand it all down nice and smooth and clean it, do some repairs on the bottom, and then put it all back together and back in, make sure it's nice and square. They don't go in that deep either, so. Okay. So due to the way Airstream installed this plate, it's easier for me just to drill out the rivets that hold the plate in instead of the screws that hold the plate to the cabinet. So I'm just drilling the heads off the rivets. There's a whole bunch of them. Now you can see the plate that I drilled the rivets out of all along this line here. So now the top's free. Now I can see if I could get this out from the bottom. Okay. So we're stuck on the wheel well. Just in a little groove there. So now I should be able to tilt the top back. Well, I had to break down. I'm going to have to take this header partially off. It's not something I wanted to do, but if I'm going to break the wardrobe or pantry doing this, I think it's best to just take the extra steps here and get this header off. So a couple more rivets to drill out. Now with this drilled out, I could flex it enough so I could get the pantry to slide out instead of having to remove this whole piece. They come out. That's it. Okay, pantry is out. Wow, this thing's so light, incredibly light. It's a little awkward to get out the door. Now that it's out, you can see how open the floor plan is. And you can see the small space that it occupied. The gas line I'm going to disconnect from underneath the trailer. I'm going to patch the floor. And then in this section, I'm going to put a waste basket and a laundry basket. And above it will be the pantry wardrobe storage. These shelf cleats I'm going to leave in the wall because the shelves lay on top of them. This back will be painted to match the rest of the trailer when I do the paint there. And the inside of the pantry is going to be freshened up. This is the pantry. This is the side that is in the bathroom, or when you shower. This is the wall that gets wet. This is where the shower plumbing will run through. I'm going to relocate that, so I'm going to patch that up as well. And then this is the inside of the pantry that I'm going to get all cleaned up and freshened up. So in the next video, you're going to see the laminate go on. And I'm also going to be putting the veneer on the front, and I'll have this front section, the bottom section, rebuilt. Well, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, comment, share, subscribe. I'd love it. And we'll see you soon.